All right. So hey, I'm Chris.
Hey, Kyle.
We I don't think we've ever met. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Nice to officially
Yeah,
meet you.
absolutely. I was gonna so I've just sort of I appreciated your prompt, your for lack of a better word, prompts or little like things, and it took me
Yeah,
pretty fun, weird ride. And it's sort of been thinking about how to start. I just thought I would there'll be two moments where I read just some definitions, and then we'll kind of get rolling. So the first, just wanted to sort of state the definition of dichotomy, a division or contrast between two things that are or are represented as being opposed or entirely different. And then dialectic, any systemic reasoning or argument that juxtaposes opposed or contradictory ideas and usually seeks to resolve their conflict, a method of examining and discussing opposing ideas in order to find the truth. Just you led your prompt with those words, and as much as like I know them, I also found it interesting to like kind of go back and get their like
yeah,
my
totally.
interpretation of them as like learned behaviors, but actual like the roots.
Yeah,
I guess and maybe we'll I I, I guess I was just curious to your interpretation or your sort of kind of arc, like giving a brief history of the band just to get going. We'll get through this and then get right into the record pretty soon. But I just thought it'd be a good way to just to start, like where you're from, how you met these guys, and what. Just starting with that could be fun for me anyway. Might not.
yeah, totally, totally. Well, yeah, basically, I was a teenage graphling, which was a fan of Graph Orlock, which was one of Steven's early bands.
Uh-huh.
And I would just go see them all the time at like Chain Reaction and other various venues. One time, a friend of mine lied and said that they were going to play a house show of ours that we were putting on just to get people to come. Like we put their name on the flyer just to
Huh.
get people to come. And I think maybe Kevin came, the old singer of the band, and was like, "We're not fuck. No one asked us to play this show. Like, what are you talking about?" We're like, "Yeah, they just put it on the flyer just to like get them to come." Um, but so I would go to all those gigs, and for my high school graduation, I went to a fest in Indianapolis. That's like what I wanted to do, was go see like Graph Orlock and fucking Phoenix Bodies and stuff. He Who Corrupts, like it was called Dude Fest.
Okay.
Yeah, Graph was playing, and they didn't have a place to stay, and I had like a cheap Motel 6 hotel room or whatever, and I was like, you guys can crash with us if you want. Like, there's one bed, and
Uh-huh.
there's seven of you, and like me and my friend that went out there. And so they stayed with us, and then like we knew each other from shows and stuff, but kind of hadn't broken the like fan barrier or whatever.
Sure.
Uh, and then we did, after you like crash with somebody, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, there it is. And then from there, just kind of like living in different punk houses and places that had shows and stuff, we would book their bands. Sven and Will, who play in Cellrot, were in a band called Reavers, and they played at the Cabin, which was a house that I lived at in Garden Grove. And then Will's other band, Negative Standards, played there a couple times. So just like getting to know each other, like it's a small scene. So getting to know each other. And then I moved to San Francisco to go to college. And they were in a band called Exhaust. And that kind of like fell apart. And we were all, I think, at dinner. I don't really remember where we were when like the actual conversation happened. But they were like, oh yeah, like Exhaust fell apart. The singer like just didn't really want to do it anymore, didn't want to tour. Um, but we have these demos. And then we were kind of talking. I also play guitar, and we were like, maybe I would play second guitar, and then we could find a singer or whatever. And then I was like, well, it sounds harder to find a singer. Like I'm down to sing in the hardcore band. And
Right.
they were like, oh shit, like that could be cool. And then they had already recorded and just never finished the lyrics for like a couple of Exhaust songs. And they sent me those, and then I wrote some lyrics over it, and then like went to a practice. And I remember kind of the first time I didn't even really know, like, I don't know, you have it in your head like what it's gonna sound like, but until you get like on a mic and you just like
Right.
scream or something, you don't like, I don't know, you don't really know what it's gonna sound like. And I remember being at OMC, like our practice space, and just like hitting the first song. Like I had lyrics, I had been like singing them in my head, like in the car and stuff on the way over. And I remember like Dustin, the drummer, kind of like looking up, and we finished the song and everyone looked around. And I think basically they were like, okay, yeah, like let's do this.
Fuck yeah.
Um and yeah, so it all kind of just came, I don't know, like right place at the right time and
Right.
small scene and like yeah.
And what year was that?
That was like 2016, I think.
Yeah.
26. Yeah.
Okay. And then you mentioned Chain Reaction, so are you from Southern California?
Yeah, I'm from Long Beach
Okay.
originally. Yeah.
And then you came up here for school to the Bay?
Yeah, I went uh at San Francisco State. So
Okay. And what'd you study?
yeah.
Was that literature?
That's creative writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you went, we'll jump around a little bit, but then you ended up at is that Cal Arts? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah. So after I graduated from San Francisco State, we were just kind of hanging around. My partner is born and raised in San Francisco. And I was living with her parents. They have like an in-law, so we had our own like a little apartment. And I was working on Haight Street at like an arts and crafts store, and just like kind of like just doing. And one day I was like, fuck that, I need to like do something. So I applied to a couple MFA programs, and I got into Pratt in New York, and then Cal Arts, and then kind of tried to decide between New York and LA. But yeah, I think a big part of it was if I went to LA, we could still do Stel Rock because I'm used to that drive of like LA from living in the Bay and having family in Southern California. It's like if you need to go for a weekend, it's doable. So that was kind of the like, if I moved to New York, might not be able to like keep it going. But if I moved to LA, we can't. I mean, I live in London now, so I guess it doesn't really.
Yeah, yeah,
um, but at the time, like, we were still writing I mean, we write a shitload now still too, but so that was kind of the like, yeah, I'll go to LA and
cool.
get a master's degree and then see what's up from there. Yeah.
We'll come back to that a little later. Um, cool. Well, I'm gonna jump in, I think, to sort of why we're here. so then you all started in 2016, and then Violent Spirals was released in 2018, then slowly falls apart in 2021, and now it's 2025, and Parasite is here.
Yeah.
Uh, and I kind of just wanted to define Paradise and Parasite as well. I don't know why, but it just feels like they're what I wanted.
Yeah.
So paradise, a place or state of bliss, felicity, or delight. In religion and folklore, paradise is a place of everlasting happiness, delight, and bliss. Um, Notions are often laden with pastoral imagery and maybe cosmological. I don't think I said that right. Often contrasted with the miseries of human civilization. In paradise, there is only peace, prosperity, and happiness. Paradise is a place of contentment, a land of luxury and fulfillment, containing everlasting bliss and delight. And paradise is often described as a higher place or the holiest place, in contrast to this world or the underworld, such as hell. And then parasite, an organism that lives in or on an organism of another species, its host, and benefits by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Or in other terms, like someone or something that resembles a biological parasite in living off of, being dependent on, or exploiting another while giving little or nothing in return. Um, So before we like jump all the way in to the new record, I sort of by one of your something you wrote, can you talk about your interpretation or use of the circle and the spiral? And in earlier correspondence, you mentioned that, you know, that, to quote you, all the sound is held in a spiraling object. I find a lot of stuff like super relatable, so I'm curious if you could elaborate.
Yeah. Um, I mean, I don't know, it all kind of goes back to even like the earliest, just the name of the band, like Cell Rot, and that even coming up with that, we didn't know what our name was for a while. It's the name's actually taken from some lyrics in a song. And Dustin, the drummer, found them. Like I sent the lyrics for that demo that we had, and he was reading through it, and there's a line that says your cells begin to rot, and then he put that together as like cell rot. But from the earliest, we were just kind of like, oh, that's cool, like a cell, kind of like the circular spiral image of like a cell. um and the first demo tape has a the globe on it, but with the microscopic image of like cells and stuff like in the background of it. Um, and that was like a cassette tape, so it's different. I mean, there is the like circular
Mm.
mechanism of a cassette tape, but the second one was like Violent Spirals. We were recording a record. It was the first like vinyl I've ever been on. And so I was like really thinking a lot about it and just thinking about something like that physical format, like containing the songs. And that's where the name comes from, Violent Spirals. And then we wanted to keep up with that kind of uh, style of art. So it has a circle, and then from there we've kind of just kept. There's been some form of like sphere or circle on every like record that we've done since then. And yeah, I think it's just kind of like thinking about it as the format as it's like a performance, putting a record on, you're really interacting with it, you're taking it out, you're putting it on your record player, you set it's spinning at like a certain 33 and 1/3 RPMs, or or 45 if it's slowly falls apart, I think, and the new one maybe. But uh it's there's this whole like kind of ritual that goes behind it. And and then, then yeah, the violence of it too. It's power violence music at its core. So that's kind of like where violence spirals comes from, and everything's just it's spinning around and coming straight at you. So
Do you so I'll just sort of preface I I don't know. Maybe I overthink things, or I have a heightened sensitivity to, particularly to the spiral and the circle, and like the work I do and the things I think about. But I was curious,
mm.
um, do do your spirals radiate inward or outward?
Ooh, I think it depends on the setting. I think when I'm writing it, it definitely radiates inward. It's definitely about like lots of the lyrics and the imagery and everything are about like internal conflicts and paranoias and like my psyche and stuff like that. But the performance is outward, because the most classic punk spiral of all time is the circle pit, right? And that's definitely an
So here,
um outward performing thing. So
sure,
yeah.
amazing. Um, okay, so Paradise Parasite will manifest as two records. Can you speak to some of the concepts and ideas that got you there?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we most of these songs were from um like lockdown pandemic era. Spin and I just like sending riffs back and forth to each other and being like, "Oh, this is sick. Like, I have this idea." A lot of the way we write is just in chunks, like one catchy riff or something. It's not like a whole song. It's just like I think we both probably have countless like 20-second videos like on our phone that we just send each other. And yeah, in like 2020, 2021, 2022, when it was still like pretty scary, that's where a lot of the music came from. And then at that time, Dustin's partner was like diagnosed with cancer, and everything that was going on, in the world with the pandemic, and and resource like depletion, and going to a grocery store and like not being able to get anything, like empty shelves, all that kind of stuff. So I think obviously that was on everyone's mind at the time, but kind of, the like all those things hitting at once, like a loved one, someone in our like direct family, um, who ended up passing away, after the records were recorded, but like still going through all that. And yeah, just really thinking about that. And then the initial idea was Spin's idea. He brought it to a practice one time and he was like, I've been thinking about like this kind of um dichotomy, like you brought up earlier, of like a paradise and a parasite. And one, I don't you have the like alliteration and kind of the like similar roots and stuff. So it sounds good together.
Yeah.
A record and like auditory things, like you want it to sound good. And then from there we just kind of started riffing off it. And sometimes I think with all of us it's about like prompts and stuff, and someone will be like, here's a cool line or here's a cool idea, and then we'll see what everyone else thinks. And I'm definitely like spurred on by prompts like that too. So I think they'll be like, what can you do with this line? And then I'll be like, oh yeah, actually that makes me think of like this and that and this and that and this. And then we'll just, go from there. So
Gotcha. Um, why was Parasite released first versus Paradise? It's to me, it seems like, I mean, I try not to ponder too much on linear time, but if I think like as I was reading and thinking about things, to me it seemed like Paradise could be seen perhaps as host and Parasite being secondary. So it's sort of smitten with the fact that to me,
yeah.
whether I don't know, it wasn't, just, why is that first?
Um because the label said so is the
So we're gonna admit
is
that.
the short
But
answer. No, I mean, it's fine. We were the original idea was for it to be a gatefold record and to have them be together.
like a double.
I think to not, yeah, a double LP, to not have that question as a thing. But I think that if we're gonna dig into it, Paradise is the host, but like um the parasite needs somewhere to go first. It exists, and in this like train of thought and this like cell rock record thing, it's about consumption and that kind of thing. And so it's parasites like going searching and finally finding a paradise to like latch onto and consume. But where we are now, with like paradise Earth, but we probably have like 50 years of resources until it's Mad Max out there, right? So
Yeah.
the parasite's around first. It just needs to find a paradise.
Hmm. Cool. And then will will there be aesthetic differences, be it sonic or visual, between Paradise and Parasite as objects?
Um, it's a variation on a theme, I think I would say, and not like a huge aesthetic difference. The second record cover is just further along in the like process of decay. So the record cover from Parasite is a bowl of fruit. And I think it's a chrysanthemum on the back, maybe a dahlia, I'm not sure. And then our friend Michelle, who took all the photos, just let them rot and kept them on her like dinner table and let them rot. And so the second uh record cover is further along in that process.
Gotcha.
Um, so it's they look very similar, which is another we wanted. It's it's kind of cool to have like two records out that are like look pretty similar but are a little bit different. Um, and yeah, that was kind of the thought behind that. Was at first glance you might not even be able to tell like which one is this. Um, so
Gotcha.
yeah.
Um, well, maybe since you brought up Michelle, I'll jump. We'll come back to Paradise, but I'll just sort of. I have like kind of design-ish questions. I was curious, um, what your relationship is to the color blue. The tone used on the cover, uh, could could be the opposite of the orange on the color wheel, and the oranges being in the bowl and oranges having sort of this art historical context that I think you were maybe leaning into. I was just wondering if that was intentional, the blue tone.
Yeah, actually, it it was slightly intentional. We knew we wanted to have like a bowl of fruit decaying as the record cover. And then the blue actually came from I was on a trip in New Zealand and there was a poster of um like Flying Nun discography, and it all had this similar blue tone. I think for like the demos they used the same blue. And so we just eyedroppered that blue from that, as I'm a big fan of that label and that like scene, like 80s Flying Nun New Zealand's like weird scrappy like post-punk. And I just kind of like fell in love with that color. um and it was we were at um Atomic Gardens recording with Jack Shirley, and Michelle came and we like sat down and we're talking about the art and stuff, and I was just like, oh, I want this blue. And I sent her the like photograph, and I think she just copied it and then made that the like filter of the blue for everything. And then it worked out that it was like we did talk about the orange being kind of like the opposite color of it. So it's really like it feels just kind of like unsettling to like look at a blue orange.
Indeed.
Yeah, it's like the it's like Billy Madison where he's drawing the duck, and he's like, I've never seen a blue duck before.
Amazing. Um, how how long did Michelle let those oranges rot for, and how many stills were taken? And
I don't know how many still. I mean, I think she said she has enough. We want to do a music video or something for one of them with like stop motion of it, and I think so. She has like quite a bit. I think it was like a month or something. I don't. Steven, do you know? Can...
Oh, here, dude.
he's not here.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was talking to
Just
the
I think it was,
spiritual
it was pretty weird.
Steven. My
And Brian was like, "Can you fucking finish this project, please?" I'm
Yeah, I
like,
think I think by the time the fruit flies came and like it was just smelled like ethanol.
prepare
They were
some
like,
there.
get this the fuck out of here. Um, so yeah, it's like over a month, I think she did it and took like a lot of photos of it, a lot of stills. So
Um, so okay, um, so if I think about art history and the symbolism of the still life, and particularly the bowl of fruit, I kind of was sort of imagining the outer cover as almost like a failure of affluence, and the inner cover, the inner spread being like more of a failure of society, riding from
yeah.
bare shelves. So on one hand, something new will grow, and on the other, scarcity of resources has the potentially very different results, and could kind of almost lead to like a let them eat cake scenario.
Hmm.
Just I don't know. I'm curious if you had anything more to speak to that, or if that makes sense to you. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of sums it up to pretty succinct explanation. Thanks for answering the question for me.
okay. What? Maybe there's something else I was gonna say. Oh, and then what was I guess sort of I'm a sucker for packaging. Um, and I'm
Yeah.
curious what brought you to having it just, be open as like a full spread on both inside and outside. And I don't know, it's slightly different enough to be notable. Most records come,
Yeah, I mean,
in the
I
front of the
think
sleeve
I
and
think that was it exactly. Is just kind of like make it a little bit different. And everyone's had a gatefold record before, but to just make it a little bit less um accessible in a way. Like it's a little bit harder to deal with being just like a piece of paper. It's a little bit the choice of like the way it folds out the image as well. Like it only says rot on the cover,
Yeah, I love
so
it.
it's not a very good like it's not the band name, it doesn't show you everything that you need to
Great.
see. And and so yeah, I think we thought like we could do just a gatefold cover of it, but like what other options are there? And um you are kind of like limited to what the pressing plants and printing plants like will do. Um, so I don't know. Yeah, like the band I mentioned earlier, Steven's old band, Graf Orlock, were like the kings of doing like shithead like packaging and stuff. They have like a record that folds out into a boombox and stuff, and I don't know how they like. I think like post COVID, record plants are like, you get a sleeve
Sure.
and like a gatefold and nothing else. Like, don't even try to ask. So we were like, how far could we push it into just like something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, it fits. It feels right. I think like it matches
yeah,
sounds. It feels like it like contains just the right amount, but it also like is unhinged, untethered, and like
yeah,
so there's something to that. I think that hits conceptually.
yeah.
Um, so
Also, like if a kid wants to use it as a poster, like
yeah,
they
Summerhead.
should definitely do that. And
Yeah,
that's like way more sick than just like some collector like never playing the record or something. So
for sure.
yeah.
Um, in our earlier brief correspondence, you also mentioned the oranges being a nod to Henry Miller and Hieronymus Bosch. So that anecdote sent me to the bookstore, and probably 30 years ago, I read like the Tropics,
Yeah.
uh, and I haven't read Henry Miller probably since. So it was a total gift to go and pick up Big Sur and the Oranges on
Nice.
Squash. Like for real, thank you. Like that, like I
Yeah.
think I would have been ready um when I was 20 years old to
Yeah, totally.
read that book and also understand it. Uh,
Yeah.
to some extent. So I'm curious of your interpretation of Miller's view of paradise and what might be perceived as parasite here. Like, is it colonial? Is it Western expansion? Or I don't know. Just curious of your relationship to Miller and your thoughts on like California too. Like, what's your relationship with California?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big part of it was California, like reading that book in it's kind of set in like his time in Big Sur. It's like a memoir. Um and uh so it was kind of California. It was I was just reading it like at the time that we were recording. And so it was just on my mind a lot. I think a big part of like with the tropics being like one of the most banned books and censored books in like American history. So thinking about kind of like outsider art in that kind of way. And then I think with the like um the tie-ins and the metaphors of like Bosch and like his depictions of heaven and hell. And so I think that's kind of where like really thinking about Paradise and Parasite in that way, with his like crazy fucked up paintings and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean that was kind of just like what was like circling through my head, like um, I guess it was another kind of like happy accident. Like I was just reading that book at the time because I had it, that someone recommended it to me, and then like Sin brought up Paradise and Parasite, and then I kind of made all the connections, and then that's where we were like, what about a bowl of oranges? Like, what about that kind of thing?
Yeah, it's a cool connection. Like I said, it sent me down
Yeah,
weird rabbit holes.
yeah,
Fun things to think about. Um, then I guess I'm curious what your definition of paradise is.
yeah. um I mean, for me personally right now, like I think uh a farm, like a big fruit-filled farm where like my neighbors are miles away and I can like play guitar as loud as I want and just like go out into the orchard and grab an apple off the tree and harvest whatever like food I need to cook and just like exist as low impact as possible aside from playing extremely loud music whenever I want. That's my that's my paradise.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I
Yeah.
think, uh, and then I kind of getting a little more serious, perhaps. So when I hear the word paradise, like many things come to mind, but one that's like truly hard to shake and very close to home, like literally, was the Paradise Fire that happened in 2018.
Yeah.
Um, and that would have you all would have been active.
Yep.
You're then a unit and are making work together and creating things. I'm wondering like, and this could be a stretch and just tell me if it is, but I'm just wondering if you have any connection with that event, conceptual or otherwise, because metaphorically it
Yeah.
it lands
It's right there.
pretty
Yeah,
hard in
yeah,
the lap, you know?
yeah. Uh I mean, I think our there is a pretty strong connection, not with Cell Rap, but we were in another band, Spin Will and myself were in another band called Master Rest. And I think we were recording at the time of that fire or one of the major, there are so many now that the like crazy thing is it's hard to keep track of which fire, like which year. But our other band was recording at the time, and I remember because I drove up from LA and it wasn't that bad in LA, and I remember getting into Oakland and it was when it was like super Blade Runner, like post-apocalyptic, like orange skies and stuff. Um, and the smoke was so bad you like needed a mask, but it was before COVID, right? So no one had masks either. So we just had like bandanas or like whatever, like wrapped a t-shirt, like any kind of balaclava that you could get your hands on to like run from your car um into the studio. So it was that like we were active and like recording music while that was happening. And I think it was definitely that kind of thing was on my mind when I was like writing the lyrics and thinking about that too, because even a fire, like if you think about it, a fire in a way is a parasite that is consuming what, and what does it want? It wants wood and what like what did I just say? I want to be in like a beautiful orchard, like a tree of paradise,
Yeah.
that ultimately like wants to be consumed by fire. So I think that is there. Maybe it wasn't necessarily spoken at the time, but
Yeah.
it is a thing that we all like lived and went through and
Yeah.
felt breathed in the like ashes of. So
Still in us, I imagine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Forever chemicals, we love them.
Yeah. So much plastic in my blood. Um, so I guess you mentioned writing lyrics, so I was kind of going to jump into lyrics. Can you speak to how you all write lyrics? I feel like you hinted at there's a collective nature to this. So you can maybe talk about that as well as any kind of uh literary influence from outside the band.
Yeah, I mean, there's I can get in. There was lots of influences, and then lots of the way we did it this time around was different than the other records. Previously, it was just kind of like whatever, my little poem diary and stuff, and I would go through and look for lines and figure out um what fits. I kind of hear I hear like lyric hooks in songs. I don't know if like other people do, but like Spin will play a riff. Like when the first time he um played Crawling Towards Your Death, like the riff that's like da na 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 na, like that just instantly popped in my head, and I was like, oh, those are the words for it. Like I just heard like the riff kind of spoke to me in a way. Um this record we wanted to, because parasites are usually like a colony of virus, bacteria, whatever it is. We wanted to make it a little bit more collaborative. So we kind of just sat down and spitballed. We listened to the songs. We had like demos without lyrics and stuff. And if I heard anything like that, I'd be like, oh, I kind of want to do that. But it was a lot more collaborative of just like, what's on your mind? What do you what do you want it what do you want this song to be about? Um, one of the songs on um, Paradise is called Over Soon. And Dustin like brought that one, and he was like, because everyone was telling his partner Heather, like who was battling cancer at the time, like you'll get through it, it'll be over soon, that kind of thing. And it was as simple as that. He was like, I want this song to be called Over Soon, and I like kind of want it to be about that. And yeah, it was just, we had a sit down, we had a nice breakfast at Will's house. His kid was like playing in the background, and we just wrote like really nihilistic lyrics, um and yes,
Those
some
conditions are nice.
some more than others were like written fully, and some were just kind of like one-liners that I took as the like prompt to work with. Um, yeah, the song, like in terms of inspiration, I don't, it comes from a lot of places. I think we're probably the first musicians ever to be inspired by this band called the Beatles. And we have a song called Yesterday. I don't, probably not that many people have heard it, but my partner, the song came on the radio, and she was like, you know what? I think that song's too long. Like Yesterday's too long. And then I was like thinking about that, thinking about yesterday being too long, but like the phrase yesterday. And so there's a lyric
That
that
song,
goes, yesterday came too soon,
yeah,
which is a play on, yesterday came suddenly.
yeah.
So yeah. And yeah, kind of there's a gentle nod to With the Covers, the bowl of fruit, to I think it's McCartney 2, which is a similar, it's like a shot of like, it's a perspective shot of a dinner table. And we were like, oh, that's cool. Like maybe the bowl of fruit could be on like a dinner table.
Mhm.
So there's lots of drippings of inspiration from unknown English 60s bands and stuff.
That's all we got these days. We are in
Yeah.
America after all. Uh, so twofold. Is there any literary influence that you brought in, like outside literary influence that you brought into Cellrot for this project? And then if then you could speak to perhaps like the process of writing a piece of literature versus writing a record, and the literature being, singular, and the record being a group effort.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there was, I think we just read a lot of like theory, literary theory and criticism and that kind of stuff. If there was any like literature um inspiration, it's escaping my mind right now, but I think we were reading. Spin's a super avid reader, and we're always kind of like throwing books back and forth to each other. Um, we were reading The Art of Cruelty by Maggie Nelson to think about like kind of violence in art, and that kind of stuff. I think there was another book that we were maybe reading at the time called The Mushroom at the End of the World, which is about like micellular networks and industrial collapse and that kind of stuff. Um, you know what? I tell a lie too. I think we were reading at the time Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead, which is about like this woman who lives like in the middle of nowhere in the woods in Poland, and all these people like start mysteriously dying, and it's like a mystery thing, and it's I won't I won't give the ending away because everyone should go read that book, but the ending is very cell rot, as we say, and very vegan power. So
Gotcha.
go
It's
read that book for sure.
it's
But I mean,
go ahead.
oh, I think like with literature, it's more about like setting the mood and stuff. I don't know if we necessarily like hold anything um, at that point in time when we were writing the record. Um, but I also wouldn't put it past
For
us
sure.
too.
You,
And then yeah, writing as like I think what I focused on when I was at San Francisco State, my um like main field of study was playwriting, because what I was really interested in was like hyper realistic dialogue. And I just kind of wanted to read a book that was like didn't have the didn't have the like interjections of like he said boldly, or like anything like that. I wanted to read a conversation. And so playwriting was kind of the like best way to get there. Because speech and conversations are like messy and people talk over each other and interrupt and ideas don't get finished and that kind of thing. And that's kind of more interesting to me to read something like that. And it's like, oh wow, like these people are talking. Um, and and then that's when I went to Cal Arts. It was just kind of an expansion of that. I'm not particularly interested in like the world of theater. So playwriting doesn't necessarily work because I don't want to like produce a play with the work. I just want that body of text that feels like an actual conversation. Um, and so what I started focusing on there was memoir, and like auto fiction, um, and working on that. And so it's not necessarily a conversation. Ultimately, what I ended up producing there was a memoir about punk houses and like communal living and DIY show spaces and stuff like that. But kind of decentering. It's like a non-traditional memoir because it's not really about me. It's about the houses and the spaces and the stories that like these places that we played shows and like got blackout drunk at and whatever, the stories that they hold. Um, and so a lot of my like writing was punk adjacent. Um, and then I would take poetry classes because I was interested in them, and it was really intimidating being in these classes with these like, like fucking long in the tooth, like poet, proper poets. And I was like, I just write song lyrics, man. I don't know. And everyone in the class was like, that's poetry, Kyle. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, it's not. Like, they're power violence songs. What are you talking about? And there was a class where I brought some song lyrics, and then everyone was like, yeah, this is poetry. And so I think kind of learning that too, that there is, I don't know, I think I'm always kind of, because we play like punk music, and um I I kind of like put myself down in that way. And but there is actual like merit behind a lot of it. So
Oh, absolutely. All of it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Punk is not a dirty word. Might be a
Yeah.
word sometimes, but it's not dirty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of power and a lot of artistry in this,
Totally.
you know, that's
Yeah.
historical, really. What a wonderful lineage to play,
Yeah.
you know. Do you want to like sort of talk about the 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 presence of Maggie Nelson in your creative life? And feel free to say no. You did mention in that you might some lyrics might have been sort of taken from things that she had said, or I don't have it.
Yeah. Well, it's more about, so she uses like free use of quotes, like so she'll quote something else as a kind of prompt, or um like starter, and in a lot of her work she's like having conversations with the quotes that she's pulling and that kind of stuff.
Huh.
And so yeah, there's definitely a little bit of that in the lyrics, and just taking from other lyrics, the Beatles,
Heard of them. I
a,
gotta
a
go.
band called a band called P22, which are some of my like best friends in LA. There's like one line of one of their songs, that I kind of like take to have a conversation with. There's a on Violent Spirals, there's a line from Rudimentary Peni, of ask yourself what makes you want this torn, ripped flesh so desperately. Um, so kind of just like playing around with that and taking other pieces of punk and music, um, lyrics to kind of refresh the conversation.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what, and yeah, so Maggie was, she had actually just left when I started at Cal. The other part of going to CalArts was to work with her, and after I accepted, they sent out a notice that was like, Maggie's leaving. At this,
Oh,
she was the head of the writing department. um but she was still around and came for like guest lectures and all that kind of stuff, so I still worked with her like throughout my time there. um and yeah, she kind of just was like, it's okay, you can like, it's not it's not plagiarism, it's a conversation, you're having a conversation with these other texts, like, so yeah.
well, that's beautiful. I mean, like that sort of permission slip to be like to invite you in the conversation, and then to give you the platform and the strength to and courage or whatever to to make your own. That's I mean that's what school's for, I guess. You would hope, or
Yeah.
having that kind of influence.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Um, I was curious of your relationship with time, and I guess was initially thinking about like I know this record was done like recorded in right 2022, correct? Or 23?
Uh yeah, kind of like September, October of 2022. This
So
one, and then the other one was January of 2023.
so there's that's a couple years to make an artwork and have it sort of sit without its legs being put on yet. I'm curious. I don't know,
Yeah.
just I don't know. It made me think of time and how time passes, and my relationship with time is one in which I'm continually trying to understand it and unlearn my sort of the the linear time sort of nature
Yeah.
of the West. And and so I don't know. It just made me just something. I'm curious if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I think I mean there wasn't a conscious decision. It was kind of I moved to the UK just to try something different, another life. My partner is a dual citizen, and kind of after the pandemic, we were like, we could be locked in a house anywhere. Like, why don't we try something else out? And so we recorded those songs, and then it kind of um, we had Convulse, who's been great to work with through the whole process, agreed to put it out, but it was we weren't necessarily in a rush because I wasn't around. And I think it ended up being a really good thing because a lot of times, especially with like kind of record cycle stuff, you like you write these songs, you record it, you like get it mastered, you get the art done as soon as you can, you get the record, you tour, and then you start all over again with another group of songs. We had a long time to kind of work on the songs because of the pandemic and everyone's different kind of like health situations and stuff with partners and all that kind of stuff. So took a while to get in a room and like finalize the songs and everything. So we really kind of gave them the attention we wanted to. And then that ended up the same thing was true for like the art and the time it took to actually get the records in hand and stuff too, because we were like, let's think about it, let's tweak it, let's let a bowl of fruit rot for a month to get the like perfect picture. And yeah, I think in this case we kind of had the luxury of time, and to just make sure that everything was where we wanted it to be. And even with that, there's still, for um the real like eagle-eyed fans, that there's a typo in Parasite. So if you find that, let me know and I'll give you 5% off at the merch table. So
Um, I guess sort of continuing with time. I find it notable that you know you have a working creative relationship with the same people for roughly 10 years that has to have been filled with a lot of growth and change and highs and lows as individuals and as a unit. And I was just wondering if you had anything you want to say to that, or you could speak to the relationship with the band, or just anything you want to like comment on in that regard. Because I think I don't know, it's hard to collaborate and hard to like stay together in the world sometimes.
yeah, and keep it running. And especially, I mean, I think the main thing and the first thing I want to say to my boys is just, thank you for putting up with me being in different places all the time, moving to LA and moving to London and stuff. And it's not easy to have a absentee singer, but when we do play, I do help set up the drums and stuff. I'm not the
Goodness.
cliche singer that disappears or whatever.
How many do?
Um, but but yeah, I don't know. I think we're all just lucky. Like we all have a similar mindset and like we get along super well. And there was only ever like kind of one big blowout when we were on tour, it was like 3 in the morning and we didn't have a place to stay and we couldn't find the right place to stay because we had a giant fucking Sprinter van that we couldn't like park anywhere and like but yeah, in almost like 10 years to really only have like one kind of big blowout that's like fuck you guys like is that's pretty good. And yeah, I don't know. I just feel lucky, like they're, honestly, like some of my best friends now. And I think we're always kind of like, if we're not on the same page, it's not difficult to get them on the same page by like explaining where you are and what you're thinking and like what's going on. And but then the other side of that coin is that I think we're all also different enough that we bring new and exciting and interesting things into the mix to keep it, like we're not all just like, oh yeah, that record's great, like that's the only thing I've been listening to, like, oh me too, me three, me four, like so there's enough like variation between all of us that it's always like fresh and exciting, and I want to hear what everyone's been reading and listening to, and I want them to take me to the new like vegan restaurant when I'm in town. um yeah, it's we just it works. It's chemistry, and it's a paradise.
Hey. Okay. So kind of B to the A question. Does the arc of the band have any symmetry with the paradise parasite concept in your mind?
So I missed the first part of
Does the arc of the band have any symmetry with the paradise parasite concept?
um yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would say that the arc of the band does, but I guess just kind of what we are living through does, and we're all uh you know consumers in a society that's collapsing right before our eyes.
Yeah.
And we have our mini paradises. We have my farm in the middle of nowhere. I think my other paradise is our practice room, where we like write our music and just hang out and like eat burritos and drink, like crush endless amounts of LaCroix and stuff like that. But even within that, like we're consuming, and we're on this planet that I don't think is going to be around for very much longer. And just kind of coming to terms with that. So if anything, I think that's the arc of it, and that's the kind of like, I don't know, what does it mean to be in a band and put a record out, and a record is kind of like seemingly could last forever, but like you're not gonna have power to turn a record player on in 50 years. So
Yeah. Um, yeah. Yeah. I was gonna shift, sort of thinking about just some of the songs. Well, first, sort of like spent a lot of time, since Sven invited me, brought me in to do this and got a record. I've been spending a lot of time with it. And so it just made me think about a couple things. Probably repeating myself a little bit, but whatever, we could edit. So, but like time and its effects, I guess also too, and I think we're humans are guilty of this. Like, we see ourselves in things or some of our ideas and other things, and kind of at times latch on to those. So I saw like a lot of my thoughts in y'all's artwork, which I don't know, is what it is, I guess. But I made me
Yeah.
think about, time and its effects and the cyclicality of life and beauty, or perceived beauty, actually, like even within the sort of what, one might think of it as like in contrary to that, but I found like I actually did find hope, buried buried
Yeah.
buried in there, and the sort of the juxtaposition of that, like that the tension, it created a good, a nice object, a nice piece of work. So there's two songs that I was most drawn to, and there would be Beat the Drum and Paradise Parasite. Um, Paradise Parasite because of, well, I would say the recording, or I thought were like very interesting. A lot of the sounds, the feedback, a lot of like to me there seems like a lot of unintended things that are happening in studio, and maybe we'll get to that after. I just want to say also, but there's two phrases within Paradise Parasite, and sort of how you sing or scream them, whatever words you want to use for that. But the word like depletion and action felt to me like a play on words. Depletion in action, so inaction meaning
Yeah.
no action, but the cadence of your voice to me felt like depletion in action,
Yeah.
therefore like depleting, what have you. And then the way sort of like say consuming and then consuming me, and sort of how that becomes the same. It's like it's the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it sounds the exact same. I don't know. I was just wondering
Yeah.
if you. I don't have necessarily any questions about that as much as if you have anything to say to those, me noticing those things, or if I
Yeah. Yeah.
if
I
I
mean,
felt smart.
it's that's what's so great about a lot of it, and that it's cool when you like really think about a piece of art that you're putting out, and you're like, this is what it means to me. And then someone hears something out like that, wasn't the depletion in action, wasn't like on purpose at all, but like good spot. Like, yeah, sounds sick. I mean, that one was straight out of poetry class, of like, I want to do like a rhyming couplet, like A B A B A B kind of thing. And that one was really like uh of all of us sitting around the table and stuff. And the main one that I remember was like the line, and that like betrayed by brothers is from a meme about Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, like being sold out by his brother.
Uh-huh.
And there's a meme of like men with time machines, and it's like someone going back in time, and it says like your brother will betray you. And someone was like, what about like betrayed by brothers, like from like directly pulled from that meme. And then
Comedy.
yeah, the consuming and consume me, that was a like I heard that and wanted it to kind of like just meld into one. But then it becomes the kind of thing too where it's like I with this record sometimes with other records we like wrote the songs and toured them and then recorded, and so everything was like locked down. This record there was some kind of like writing, tweaking in the studio and that kind of stuff. And so I had like my lyrics on a pad of paper in front of me. But I'm also like performative when I record too. Like I can't just it's the same as if I'm playing live. When I'm in the studio, I need to like jump around. I need to like have that action and stuff. So I write the fucking words down, and then I'm like on the other side of the like recording booth, like with the mic in my hand, and I can't see like what I wrote down. So there is a little bit of like sometimes it's kind of ad lib, and what I had to do after this one was like, okay, I have the written version of the lyrics, but I need to make sure that's what I said, and that's what we recorded as well. But like yeah, yeah, I knew with consume me, I wanted to just make it kind of like bleed together.
Yeah, it's a nice moment. Um, and then I guess I don't know if you I would ask if you wanted to pick, I was gonna see if you wanted to discuss Beat the Drum or if you had another song you wanted to talk about that just feels meaningful to you. But Beat the Drum just like stuck out to me, particularly like after that little pause and a little like little there's like a quick lull and then it comes in and there's a shift in vocals to where I'm
Yeah,
like speaking more than screaming.
yeah,
It just seems like that there seems like maybe a different kind of magic in that song.
yeah.
Um, if you had anything to add or to say to that.
I mean, what I want to add about that song is that um, everyone wear earplugs at loud concerts, please. That song is about tinnitus, and I have horrible tinnitus from just going to gigs and playing gigs and stuff, and not wearing earplugs for a long time. And it's just kind of like about dealing with that, and I like joke, I call it my little friend because it's like I have a nonstop like ever present ringing in my ears. And at night when everyone's like, oh, it's so quiet, like I just hear nonstop. And that's my little friend, and we call it my little friend in that song. um and and yeah, it was just kind of out of a conversation, the lyrics for it at least, and like screaming for nothing, feeling like you're just screaming and nothing happens, and you're like destroying your body for it. I have good earplugs now that I wear religiously at shows. And yeah, as far as the the different parts of it, like when it kind of drops out and then comes back in with the more like spoken word part and stuff, like I don't know, we're super lucky to record with Jack Shirley. And he just lets us like do weird shit. He kind of like comes up with ideas too as well. And I think um parts of that were just him like doing some fun like studio magic and different bits. um and yeah.
Yeah. The screaming for nothing is that I mean, that's pretty great line. Um, and I'm gonna age myself right now and it it definitely I love that it's like to me and probably a lot of people in their 50s would think of it as like a counter to a Uniform Choice song.
Yes, screaming for
Uh,
change, right? Yeah.
I just like it was a nice, a nice sort of
Yeah.
like end disconnect or like counter,
Yeah.
like utile energy,
Yeah.
but energy nonetheless. I guess then going into the studio and working with Jack, um, y'all did play around with different things, and perhaps there was a mention of a prepared piano and other sort of like
Yeah.
studio experimentation, and I I guess with pickup mics and then playing through the piano or something, and so the idea of sympathetic resonance
Yeah.
is something that I am deeply invested in personally. That idea of how energy can transfer and create new.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just curious your experience and like diving into that and like bringing in definitely more like avant-garde gestures onto a punk record now.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing.
I mean, exactly. I think like that's just what we're trying to do when we're in the studio is like you're playing a genre of music that's tried and true, and like there are very concrete examples of like what makes a hardcore record, what makes a power violence record. And maybe at the end of the day, like we didn't make a traditional power violence record or hardcore record. But that's kind of like what we wanted to do. And so we go into the studio and we're like, what can we do that's not just like like a fucking HN2 boss like pedal into a like 5150 PVM that like is every other like record that you've heard for the gear nerds out there. Um but yeah, I think on this record on Parasite, the main thing we did for recording, which I was like really thinking about at the time, was like the way we recorded the guitar tracks. There are three different guitar tracks, and one is like a little shitty Fender combo amp that's just like everything was like dimed, and so it sounds like the worst black metal you've ever heard. I don't really like black metal. I'll just put that in there for so everyone can know that. And then we had like a super mid like like classic rock ACDCS like Marshall rig that was just like sounded like getting into a bar fight or something. And then we had a super bassy like chonky like fat guy crowbar like, and so all three of those like summed on to each other
Uh,
like are the base for that record. But I was like really thinking about that as like kind of a paradise, like bringing different like EQ bands together to make what I think is a super like thick, good sounding record. Um, and then yeah, for Paradise, we put contact mics on the back of a piano, and then we would tape down, like figure out what the key of the song is, which for like punk kids isn't super easy. But it's probably all like A minor or something. like um and so we tape down those notes and then just had that in the room that we were recording with the amps like pointed at it, so it picks up those like residual vibrations. And the strings are like on a piano, the strings are depressed. We like literally taped them down so those notes were like active on the piano, and then just put that on top of all. It's through the entire recording just about. So like on that record, when it's out you'll hear it, but there's like a wash sound, and that's like the cymbals coming through the contact mics, and then when the songs start, it's there, it's ever present. It's the like kind of parasite on the record, like picking up the sounds. And yeah, then you can do just fun things and make like feedback and put it through different kinds of like tape tape echo machines and shit like that. And like there was I think on Paradise Parasite there's like a feedback spike, and that was through one of the tape machines, and we like sat with it in the record. We knew we wanted it to like climax at this certain point, and so we like sat and waited and like did it, and the tape like oscillates and feeds back and stuff. But it took a couple tries of like syncing it up to get the like mechanical tape to go with it. Yeah.
There we go. All right. We have 10 minutes left. I think I have one more question. We could ride it
Cool.
out if you're good.
Yeah.
And I think just sort of vibing off of the kind of your first statement in our early correspondence about the dialectic and dichotomies of things. I was just wondering in this process if you've come to any new understanding in this exploration of idea and concept. And then kind of side note question is like, at what point can we ever be paradise, and can we embody both parasite or paradise mentally or physically?
Yeah.
Light conversation.
Yeah, yeah, just leaving it easy. I think that I don't know if I wouldn't say that there's been like one new thing or one profound thing that I've learned from it. I think that it's always a process. It's an ongoing series of decay and brain rot, of thinking about these records, and I'll be thinking about it for a long time. And yeah, can we be parasites? I think when we're like dead in the dirt and mulch for the plants, we'll be the return to earth is the paradise that we can provide. But until then, all we can do is take. So and until you can give, you're not going to be a parasite. You're not going to be a paradise. You're going to be a parasite. So yeah.
All right. That's all I got. You good? Do we miss anything? Anything you want to address? Anything you feel like got lost? Oh, we're frozen again.
Perfect timing.
Oh wait, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Cool.
Is there? I mean, that's all I have, but I don't know if you have anything that I missed that you want to talk about that I could ask, or you feel
No,
good?
I think that was great. Thanks for asking those questions. Felt really good. And yeah.
Well, pleasure. Take care.
Thanks for talking with me. And have a good day. Go get a timeless Danish for me, please.
We go to Forma now, bud.
Oh yeah. Okay. Form is cool. Tell them I said what's up. Tell them their ovens kick ass.
RJ's my neighbor. I'm at Timeless way too much. And Michelle's my neighbor too.
No.
So this is very connected.
Yeah. No, Forma's good. I went there when I was there in January because I was at the barber shop around the corner.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this place is legit. I work at a bakery in London, so
Okay.
I'm a bakery snob. So,
yeah. Me too. I just eat them though. I don't make them.
Yeah. Good. Stay out of it.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah, this is a pleasure. I'll be curious how this turns out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Cool.